Morning, Piers.
So education and China. It turns out that we provide China with a lot of education services, which I think a lot of people may not have been aware of. How much do we provide them with, and how much more do we hope to provide them with in your particular area?
Well, we already have a very successful maths teacher exchange with the Chinese. It's been in place since 2014, and it's helping to improve maths teaching in our primary schools. Today, the Prime Minister is announcing an extension of that programme for another 2 years. She's also announcing £550 million of education deals, including announcing a deal by Busy Bees, the very successful private nursery school chain. They're going to open 20 branches in China. There's also going to be exchanges of information and working together on issues such as vocational technical education and training early years teachers. So this is a very successful package of education deals that the Prime Minister is announcing with China.
So fantastic that we're able to export our education services. However, we have a Commons Public Accounts Committee report out saying the government here is not dealing here with the rise in the number of teachers leaving. You failed to get a grip on the retention of teachers. It's particularly worrying the number of secondary school teachers has been falling since 2010. Schools only managed to fill about half of vacant posts in 2015-16 with qualified teachers who had the experience and expertise required. I mean, really depressing reading for anyone who's got children in secondary schools here in this country.
Well, we are taking a grip on this issue. We have a very strong economy and with the lowest level of unemployment since 1975. So the graduate recruitment market is very challenging. Having said that, we recruited 32,000 graduates into teaching last year, which is 3% higher than the year before. And we have very generous tax-free bursaries, up to £26,000, to encourage graduates to come into teaching. So we're very optimistic that the measures we put in place will encourage and are encouraging more graduates, the best graduates, to come into teaching. There is
a massive increase in the number of secondary school pupils, and yet there is a huge increase in the number of teachers leaving the profession for reasons other than retirement. Schools are finding it really hard to get qualified, experienced teachers into posts.
Well, you say massive. The report talks about an increase of 9,000 teachers leaving for reasons other than retirement at that level, out of 500,000 teachers in the profession. We have the record number of teachers in the profession today, 455,000 teachers. There's never been more teachers.
And a record number of pupils.
And a record number of pupils. We've created 700,000 new school places, particularly at primary. And the report that talks about the falling secondary school numbers of teachers, that was in those early years after 2010 when pupil numbers in secondary schools was falling. Now the numbers are increasing as the bulge from primary school feeds into secondary schools. And as I said, we are recruiting record numbers of graduates coming into teaching, 32,000 last year, 3% higher than the year before. And we're taking huge measures to improve the workload issues for teachers. We are taking measures to further improve the status of teaching, providing structure to teachers' career. We take this issue extremely seriously. But having said all that, standards are rising in our primary schools and our secondary schools. There are 1.9 million more pupils in good and outstanding schools today compared to 2010. In 2010, 63%, for example, of pupils took at least 2 science GCSEs. Today it's 91%. 9 out of 10 young people are now taking at least 2 science GCSEs, which is a huge improvement in standards. So teachers are improving standards in our schools. We are recruiting sufficient numbers of teachers to fill vacancies. The vacancy rate is about 0.3%, relatively stable. Retention rates in our schools are relatively stable, but we do know that there are challenges for some schools in some parts of the country in some subjects, and that's what we're working hard to resolve.